Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is To Back or Not to Back, where we're going to go through a variety of crowdfunding campaigns, talking about what they are, what the games are, what the pledges are, should you back it, should you not, all of the usual things, links and timestamps to everything down below. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into a variety of crowdfunding campaigns, although, of course, usual reminder and disclaimer that I am CMO of GameFound. Please take that into account as we go through this video. And with that, let's go ahead and start off with our board game adjacent category. Our board game adjacent is going to be Adventure Time, the role-playing card game, the role-playing game, not card game. 3,000 backers, $522,000 raised. As usual, when it comes to RPGs, I usually don't cover them a lot in depth because, frankly, it's not my genre. I don't know enough about the differences. I can tell you that this is built on the 5e system, so it is built in the D&D system. Has lots of fun little art from the Adventure Time universe. That's as far as where my knowledge will tap out in this one. But in case you were interested in this, in case you wanted to know about its existence, in case you wanted to play as any of these loony, wacky races in the game, you can go ahead and check out Adventure Time, the role-playing game. I keep wanting to say the card game because I know Adventure Time, the card game from Cryptosaic. I assume it's from Cryptosaic. It is indeed from Cryptosaic Entertainment. So I know Adventure Time, the card game. Never played the role-playing game. Never played the card game either, for that matter. I barely watched the show, really. I watched like a few episodes. Never really fully got into it. I've seen like bits and pieces. There's some really good music from Adventure Time, but I haven't really gotten into the full universe. I don't know if I need to. I don't think I need to. Anyways, moving on to board game updates over here. God of War, the board game over here. I've been debating doing a full video on this one. Usually with titles, I do often do a full should you back it. With God of War, the board game, I don't know if I'm going to with 4 days left. I know tomorrow's already. We'll see. And maybe I'll get to it, maybe not. Let me know if you want a full should you back it. But other than that, just going through a brief update on this one. There will likely be more add-ons before this game is done. I covered this last week. You can also check out gameplays on Man vs. Meeple. There's 2 gameplays on my channel if you want to check it out. God of War, the board game. It's from CMON. There's a lot of people who are not happy with what this game is in a variety of ways. You can go through the comments and anything from shipping or, the tiles in the game, art, all these various things. But past that, the general game itself is going to be a dungeon crawler, a 1 to 2 player dungeon crawler. In theory, dungeon crawler / boss battler. There's also a 2 player, there's an expansion, the Brothers expansion, that turns it into up to 4 player experience instead, if you want to go ahead and get that. And then past that, they have the base game. They have lots of add-ons and all those things, and the various, well, we'll get into the add-on shortly, but the basic idea is you have a hand of cards. You play those cards to drive your actions, either moving, interacting, or using various attacks in the game, and you're trying to combo up Atreus and Kratos' and obviously if you're playing with expansions or who knows what different things will be in play, but you're trying to team up synergy, trying to make sure you deal damage from both characters so that you can slowly upgrade yourself across the course of the game so that you are powerful enough to take on the big boss, which you eventually bring them onto the board, and then hopefully destroy them before they destroy you. Depending on which scenario you're playing, it can be hard, it could be a little easy. Well, not easy. You can check out the gameplays if you want to get a sense of it. But past that, as far as the expansions, let's go into the expansions over here because we have the basic rewards for the game, the Mortal Pledge for $70, which is basically don't get that. Don't. Like, there's 22 people backing this. Don't. Your 22 people should not be backing this. Get this at retail if you're getting this pledge. It's going to cost you more over here. And then there's the Demigod Pledge, which is the one that's probably worth getting if you are interested in getting this game. That's going to give you the Brothers expansion, the 3 to 4 players Brothers expansion, as well as all the stretch goals. You do not get the stretch goals on the Mortal Pledge, which is one of the reasons I highly encourage you not to get the Mortal Pledge. If you're interested in this game and you want the Mortal Pledge, just get it at retail later. It probably won't even be that late. CMON in general, their games often show up in retail around the same time as crowdfunding is delivered, so you might even get it sooner in retail, and you'll pay less money for it, so I would recommend not getting the Mortal Pledge, but the Demigod Pledge if you're interested in that. As past that, as far as the add-ons, we have a variety of stretch goals. You can check out all the stretch goals, because there are a bunch, and again, I might do a full should you back it if I can, no guarantees. I may do a full should you back it towards the end of the video, towards the end of the campaign, but I just don't know, because it ends on Thursday. I could do one Thursday, but then it's like the last day. I don't know. We'll see. There might be a full should you back it. But past that, as far as the add-ons over here, the add-ons are going to be, you have the Nightmares of the Past expansion, the Ghost of the Past expansion, which brings you Kratos from a previous timeline. I never actually played the original Kratos games. I've only played the newest God of War, and even that I didn't finish, but then again. Anyways, we have over here, we have Athena and Ghost of Sparta Kratos over here if you want to team up. We have the Gravedigger, Pandora, various monsters. This is a whole expansion add-on giving you more content, but using aspect from the base game, I believe. I believe it uses stuff in the base game, if I'm not mistaken, because I think it's not a standalone. I think it's expansion owned. I do not think it's standalone at all. Anyways, past that over here, we have 6 new bonuses. If you acquire the optional buy, you also get the crowdfunding exclusive Pandora's Guardian. So this expansion will not be a Kickstarter exclusive or GameFound exclusive, but it does come with the crowdfunding exclusive, the Pandora's Guardian boss, if you get it here. But again, I do think it is an expansion, not a standalone. I'm 99.9% sure. I just don't see it on this particular thing, which is why I'm like having that drop of hesitancy. Anyways, past that, we also have the Pantheon expansion over here. The Pantheon is going to, and again, expansion for sure, this is going to give you a bunch of gods. You have specifically, well, 5 gods. You have 5 miniatures for Hermes and Poseidon and Hercules and Hades and Zeus and all these gods, a new synergy track extension, which potentially looks like even more powering up in the game. If you watch the second gameplay of the experience, you'll see there's a different synergy track in play, and this gives you even more synergy, so don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I do like the idea of powering up and upgrading even further against tougher enemies. We have the Fall of Olympus Menace track, so some fun little things going on in this expansion here. And then we also have the Nightmare Valkyries expansion, and that's going to bring you 5 Valkyries as bosses. So you have the 5 boss figures, 5 boss dashboards, and then boss behavior cards. So you have the Kara, Sigrun, Gunnar, Gondel, and Gerdrifel. I have no idea how to pronounce those, I'm sorry. But that's basically going to be 5 more bosses. So basically you have like 10 bosses from these various expansions, plus the additional Pantheon expansion bringing you more gameplay content as well. Then we have special bonus cards as well over here. You know, so I have 8 exclusive bonus cards, which was a follower gift, but you can also spend money to get it as well. And that's kind of what we have over here for the various God of War stuff. Again, as far as should you back it, general rules apply in this one. As much as people are upset about various aspects of the campaign, this is a CMON title with a bunch of miniatures and a game that, I mean, having played the game personally, I do think it's a good game. I'm not going to fully get into it now, but I do think it's a good game. I think people are going to want this game, and I think there's going to be a lot of exclusive content. I think it still will hold its value. I could be wrong on this one, but CMON titles generally do fairly well. I'm pretty sure this is still going to hold its value, and there's a lot of expansion stuff. And as they release more things, including the full all-in optional buy, not optional buy, full all-in discount thingamajiggy, at that point I may do a video depending on timeline, because it's also the holiday the next 2 days. So it'd have to be Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's what we have for God of War the board game. Moving on to the new projects. We have Project L Square 1. 2004 backers, $111,000 raised. 4 days to go on this one. This is a short campaign. We have Project L Square 1 is basically an offshoot version of Project L with differences. The main differences being that, well, let's talk about Project L first. Project L is a polyomino tableau building game in which you're going to use actions every single round to be able to basically gather various polyomino pieces, gather various tiles you're trying to fill, cash in those, place those pieces onto the tiles, and then try to earn as many points and upgrades as possible across the course of the game until a game end is triggered, and see if you have the most points, whether you built your tableau and cashed in on your tableau at the right time. Project L Square 1 does 2 things differently. The first is it removes those polyomino tiles and makes them into little squares that have polyomino shapes on them. So they're maintaining the theme of polyominoes, but not the actual reality of polyominoes, although to some extent it's preserved in the upgrading system, but that's more just a currency numeric system as opposed to an actual polyomino system. The other aspect is it adds a time element, so now you have to put those tiles onto your you have to put the little bits onto the tiles. You have to do it in a specific order, which is different from the original Project L. So it adds more things in the way that you have to get past strategically, but then removes the polyomino placement. So if you like the idea of the tableau building of Project L, but didn't care for the polyomino puzzle, that's what this game is for, and it gives you more on top of it. For me personally, I've played it. You can check my coverage of the game. I think Project L Square 1 is a great game. I just think Project L is better and has more charm, so I don't know if I'm as compelled by this one, because removing the polyomino pieces is just less fun for me. I like polyominoes. Past that, the game over here is going to run you $49 for the Initiate Pledge over here. It's going to run you $59 for the Master Pledge, and all those are going to come with the Kickstarter exclusive content, which is, I believe, the Joker Ambassadors Pack is going to be Kickstarter or, convention exclusive. Exclusive. It's less available. That's what you can get for the Joker expansion pack over there. And then we have the Square 1 Joker expansion, the Ambassadors. You'll see the Joker Ambassador Pack. So you have some content going on as far as the extra stuff there. That's basically the core game idea. You have those little chiclet pieces. They're adorable. I think they're lots of fun. I mean, when I say fun, like, if you play these, they have a nice material to them. Like, they are fun. If you've seen coverage of Project L, it's very cool stuff. It's a fun little game. It's a lot of, yeah, I keep saying fun. I'm going to stop saying fun. Anyways, that's as far as we got for Project L Square 1. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? You are getting the exclusive content or whatever, the Joker Ambassador Pack. It's going to be Kickstarter exclusive, so you are getting that if you want that. But outside of that, Project L is a game that is generally available more cheaply, both in the secondhand market and or in retail. You are paying more for it over here. You are getting some exclusive content, but I don't think it holds its value, and I don't think it's one that the exclusive content is worth that extra amount that you're paying. So Project L Square 1, great game. I think there's a better game, Project L, and I think it's less likely to hold its value, although you are getting some degree of exclusive content. That's what we have for Project L Square 1. Moving on, we have Bouba Kiki plus Stroop reprint. 92 backers, 2,749. I usually don't cover projects with 92 backers. Usually. This one slipped through. I don't know why. Anyways, 92 backers, $2,749 raised, 5 days to go. We have Bouba, Kiki plus Stroop from Grand Gamers Guild. Bouba Kiki, well, both these are reprints of older titles. Bouba Kiki specifically is a actual term for a sound kind of effect, the Bouba Kiki effect. The effect is that people are likely to associate certain sounds with certain visual shapes, even if they didn't necessarily know that. Meaning, Bouba would be more likely to be associated with a round shape, and Kiki more likely to be associated with a sharp shape. And if you just look at the letters, you can get a sense of why there's that mental connection. That game takes that core concept and basically gives you a whole bunch of cards, and you have random words with random shapes, and then it's up to people to try to put together what they think the judge person would have put together for that shape. So if I see these various words, do I think ottery would have been, like if I see ottery, which of these words is an ottery? Is it this? Is it this? And obviously you see it next to it, it's a little different. But like which of these would I personally have thought? Horf for the balloons over there, that doesn't make sense. But either way, that's the general idea. You're trying to predict or guess what people would have done as far as combining various shapes with various sounds. That's the idea of the game. Cute little puzzle of a game. Haven't played it. I think it's the kind of game that I'd enjoy. I don't know if it's the kind of game I need to table, but I think it's the kind of game I'd enjoy playing and have fun with it, but not necessarily need to continuously retable. The Stroop effect is another kind of mental mind game. This one's a game where you basically have to try to place cards onto a table matching what the card says. So if you place a blue card that is actually black, the next person has to place a card that is blue regardless of what it says. Maybe they followed it up with solid, at which point you can follow it up with 4 because that's a solid shape instead of hollow. So you're basically following not what the card is saying, but what the card actually is. And then in the second round, you do it in the reverse. You have to play a card onto the table that matches what the pile is. So you're basically reversing those two just to confuse you just enough so that there's chaos and fun and all those things. Those are the two basic games over here. As far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, first of all, we have the pledge levels, $20 for the Bouba Kiki game, and we have $36 for the Bouba Kiki plus Stroop game as well. And they added a pledge level, I believe this is added, Bouba Kiki Stroop plus Marriage Mix-Up for $45, an additional $9 for Marriage Mix-Up. As far as the games in general, I don't think these are games that are likely to hold their value, not based on the secondhand market, but they are games that are not easily available. So if you do want these games, it does have that benefit, and again, with 96 backers, it's not like they're about to become easily available either. So I think if you are interested in these games, there's limited availability, which might be the main reason to consider getting them, but outside of that, it's not one that is going to hold its value. So if that's your concern, if your concern is trying, and I probably should say this in every video, I don't, but I need to remember that not everyone watches my videos from the very start of the channel, but every once in a while I'll get a comment being like, why do you care if a game holds its value? Like, why is that a factor at all? Like, I'm not buying games to resell them. Well, neither am I. I don't buy games to resell them, but I do like trying a lot of games. The whole reason I got into the holding its value, I should do this at the beginning of every video. I really should. I could do it in 30 seconds. Why do I talk about holding its value? The reason I talk about holding its value is because I like trying lots and lots of games, and I've always liked trying lots of games, but I don't like spending money on games, finding out they're not for me, and then turning around and selling them for a quarter of what I paid for them, which doesn't give me the financial ability to try lots and lots of games. I care about games holding their value because it lets me buy a game, and if it's not a game for me, at least I know that I may have lost either nothing, or maybe even gained money, or possibly lost a little bit, but not that much, giving me the opportunity to try as many games as possible on a limited budget. That's the whole pitch. That's what it is. I should say that in every single video. I really should. I don't know why I don't. Anyways, moving on from there. Moving on, we have, well, I know why I don't. I don't because, like, there's always people who watch every single video, and they know all that stuff, and then repeating myself every single video, it's like every single video you're saying, you add more and more of the same stuff that you're constantly repeating, and it gets annoying and tedious, but if I can keep it short enough, and Lord knows I speak fast enough, then maybe it's not the worst. I think I'm going to start doing that. Moving on over here, we have Snowcrest. Snowcrest from Gale Games. 17,000 Australian dollars raised so far. 301 backers, 9 days left to go. Snowcrest is a charming little game that has a lot of coverage on the game. You should check it out. The game does look compelling, although it's always interesting because there's lots of games that look compelling, but it gets harder and harder for games to look compelling and stand out as different. Snowcrest is a game I genuinely want to try based on the coverage of the game, based on what I've seen of the game. But the tricky part is it just a game I want to try, or is it actually different too? That's always the harder thing to figure out. And then genuinely, it's a hard thing to figure out. Even going back to God of War, like God of War is great, but I'd recommend Cthulhu Death May Die any single day over God of War. To me, God of War is like a game if you want some variety from Cthulhu Death May Die. They are very different. There are lots of differences. I should say this. I should do a full video. We're gonna move on. Anyway, Snowcrest over here. Villager Pledge over here for 37 Australian dollars. Do not be scared off by that, especially if you are a US backer, because you see this large $37. Maybe that's a price point that's a little bit too much for you. Instead, it's $24. Except joke's on you. There's actually $12 shipping on top of that. Let's go to the shipping over here. Shipping's gonna be around $12 or so USA. Approximately $14 shipping. So your $24 game is going to run you around $14. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. That's not like a lot of money, but that's a lot of money relative to the price point of the game. Either way, but so it is actually $37. So ignore what I said. It's $24 plus $14 or $38. So it's actually $38 for the game. That's a hard thing. I mean, honestly, again, not to harp on God of War too much, but they got part of the flack as well for having a shipping price that was basically like half the price of the game, and that's a problem. You need to be mindful of not having a shipping price that's half the price of the game, because people see the $24 and they're like, yay, I'll get it, and then they see the $14 shipping and they're like, well, that feels like money that's going away, because it does feel like money that's going away. If you buy a $36 game, it feels like a $36 game. If you buy a $24 game and you spend $14 in shipping, well, first of all, it's $38, not $36, but second of all, it feels like you just lost $14 just for the price of acquisition. Like, are you selling it for $38 if it's not for you? See previous ramble on why I care about selling games. Anyways, moving on over here. So $24 plus $14 to get this game. That's going to be Snowcrest over here. It's going to be a game of card tableau. You can be playing cards into your grid. The activating abilities is a little bit of a puzzle of when you play a row or column of cards face down, you have to activate, well, a full row or column, you have to activate that full row or column. So you're trying to figure out how to eke as much as possible out of your tableau as you build it. Again, check out the various content on the game. It looks very charming, looks very fun. I think I would enjoy this. I don't know if it would be a keeper or not, but I think I'd enjoy it. We have the upgrade pack over here. 280 upgraded wooden pieces to replace all the resources, scrolls, and tracking tokens. That's going to be from the upgraded pledge over here. We have the villager pledge for $24, 24-ish, and then we have the scholar pledge for, what's the math on that? I don't know exactly, $36. I think that's around $36. For around $36, plus again that $14 shipping. The shipping's gonna be the same for both, so that does make your relative value better, I guess. I don't know. We have 37 people backing the retail pledge, and by the way, in general, if you're gonna back that, you should just get the retail edition of the game. Just get the retail edition of the game. You'll save the $14 shipping. It'll be better for you. If you want the scholar pledge, it's a bit of a different situation. You are getting those upgrades, but at least you're getting something that's not gonna be as readily available as retail. And they also have Bottle Imp, which apparently they're reprinting. Bottle Imp's like an older title. Like I never actually played it, but I haven't even seen Bottle Imp as like listed or named in like years until I was reviewing this page for this video. Past that, a few variety of stretch goals and all those things, extra cards, extra stuff, and that's basically the game. Every turn you can be activating cards, you can be adding cards to your tableau, you can be resting over here when you receive all your resources and flipping all your villagers face up. So again, a little bit of a tableau optimization puzzle going on. As far as should you back, should you not, will hold this value. I'm realizing I spent a lot of time on this campaign page. This video should not be that long. I said that every video. They're all that long. Anyways, we have 301 backers over here. I think the shipping price combined with the price of the game, I think this is one that's less likely to hold this value overall. I think that it might have limited availability. I think rail games in general, they do have retail availability, but not necessarily a ton. So I'd say this is definitely going to fall into a window of, if you don't get it on crowdfunding, make sure to get it when it does hit retail, because it won't necessarily be around for a ton after that. I think aftermarket availability will be limited if you're trying to hunt this game down in the secondhand market. I just don't think there's going to be a ton of copies in rotation. It'll be available to some people for sure, but I just don't think there's going to be a ton of them. But that's going to be Snowcrest over here, so don't think it's going to hold this value. Might be the easiest way to get your hands in it, but it's also cheap-ish, but then the shipping is a big factor. The shipping is really the big factor. If you're just okay trying the game, I recommend just waiting for retail. If you really want the deluxe content, it probably will not hold this value, but getting on crowdfunding does at least make sense. We have Cyberpack Quest, a thrilling solo co-op campaign board game. $34,000 raised, 625 backers, 11 days to go from Dead or Alive Games, not Dead or Alive. I want to say Dead or Alive every single time, but it's just Dead Alive. Cyberpack Quest, a thrilling co-op campaign game where cybernetic pets rescue their owners. This game is going to be coming in a small little box. Like, I don't mean that negatively. I mean, like, that's like, it's a box like this side based on the picture. So a small box game over here, and it's going to have a lot of content packed in that small box game, because you're going to have a bunch of cards, you're going to have the actual box top turning into like a little player board area, and you're going to be rolling dice every single turn with your various pets as you go on a series of adventures. You're going to be earning luck and coins. I think it was luck and coins. No, luck and energy. You're going to be earning luck and energy, which is going to drive your actions in the game as you go on a little bit of adventure, trying to make sure to defeat the various baddies before they hurt you, trying to track down the various things, like, you know, investigate various areas of the board, find out what you need to find out. It's going to be a campaign story arc game. They actually have a Jerry Hawthorne design of Mice and Mystics, etc., commenting on the game, and that makes sense for to have him commenting it, because his type of games are a similar type of gameplay feel. Different in terms of mechanics, but that sort of arc of being like a slight story-based game with a little bit of an adventure arc and all that, similar kind of vibes or whatnot, so it does make sense to have that over here. But as far as past that, you're basically activating different pets, different abilities, different you know, attributes and all that stuff as you go on this small adventure quest situation, rolling dice, cooperative. I may not have mentioned this, it's a cooperative game. You're going on a series of quests and adventures trying to survive together, or die alone. But if you die, you're robots, you're not actual pets, so there is that one redeeming quality, because no one likes the idea of dead pets. For some reason, it's so much more disturbing than dead humans, for people. Not necessarily for me, but for a lot of people. Anyways, over here, we have pledge manage access for $1. We have the raccoon pledge for $24. I do think it was a small mistake to show things as opposed to like the game over here. Like I think intuitively people usually are used to seeing the actual products, and now you kind of have to read stuff because there's just a picture of an animal. Small pet peeve over here. But the raccoon pledge for $24. Again, when you're looking at the price over there, do factor in that the game size, if I can find it over here, is small. And I don't mean that, oh no, don't get it. Games are not decided, a good game is not decided by the size of the game, but it is a factor when you're trying to determine, here's a copy over there. It is a factor when you're trying to determine the relative what you're getting from it. You see that whole sprawling aspect on the table, you might think you're getting a big box game, and if you spend $24 and then get a small box game, which you are not expecting, it might be disappointing. So I'm not saying don't get it or do get it, I'm just saying know what you're getting. It's $24, we'll get to the don't get it or do get it soon. $24 for the Raccoon Pledge Standard Edition over here. It gives you the Cyber Pet Quest Standard Edition game. For $39, you're also going to get the Deluxe Edition of the game, which let's see if we can scroll up and show you what's in the Deluxe Edition, because they had a whole breakdown of the various extras. Was it over here? Did I scroll too far? I scrolled too far, although here's another picture of the game in your hand, so you can see that whole fits in one hand for you. Over here we got the game over here. They nicely label down what's in all editions, what's in Deluxe Edition, and what's in the Add All In Golden Goose Pledge. That's a lot of title over there. Speaking of which, we have the Happy Dog Pledge, Deluxe plus some add-ons. We have the Golden Goose Pledge for $169 for basically every single thing you get your hands on. And again, it's a little insane to me that $169 for a bunch of stuff that comes in that size box does feel like a lot. You are getting a bunch of things in there, but it just is including a Neophene playmat, which I guess will possibly not fit in the box. I assume won't fit in the box. Over here we have various pledge stretch goals, or all these various things being added over there. Do you have a breakdown of the components somewhere? I don't know if we do fully over there. That's what we have for the game. That's what we have as far as the game goes. Which brings us to the should you back or should you not, will it hold its value, all of that stuff. In general, first of all, if you want the retail edition of the game, I'd say don't get it over here. And they actually do have a retail. Dead or Alive Games does generally have a retail presence. You can actually check out their last game, Lunar Rush, which I really did enjoy. Lunar Rush. I wasn't a fan of the art, but I do think the game itself was very good. But Lunar Rush, you can check it out on Miniature Market. But that's where it gets into the pricing aspect, which is Lunar Rush, at least if you're looking at the basic level of the game, is cheaper on Miniature Market than it was to get on crowdfunding. So if you backed it on crowdfunding, not only did you give the money a year in advance, but you also paid more to get that game. Whereas if you're willing to get it on an online discount store, like Miniature Market or any typical online retailer, assuming you have access to that in your country, then it will be cheaper for the basic version of the game. Which means the main reason to get this game would be the deluxe extras. If you want all the deluxe options, or any of the deluxe options, if those are the things that are compelling you or pulling you in, that's the reason to get this on crowdfunding. Otherwise, I'd recommend waiting for retail if you're just interested in trying the experience, or you're just interested in the retail edition of the game. To that end, though, as far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? For the most part, no. Dead or Alive Games in general, they've been consistent as a publisher. They put out a bunch of good games that have generally been well received, but they haven't hit that kind of vibe of really landing as far as sheer amount of demand or interest in their games, whether on crowdfunding or aftermarket. They have a consistent audience, they do well, but they haven't hit that like their games generally don't do great on the second-hand market. So I'd say that if you are looking to get this game, again, retail's gonna be the cheapest way to get it down the road, but if you're looking to get the deluxe extras, by all means do so. It supports the creator and you get the game that you want, but it's less likely to hold its value on the second-hand market. Moving on, we have Earth Abundance Expansion. 9,481 backers, $674,000 raised, 9 days to go, and I'm realizing at this point in the video that I forgot to pick my picks of the week. I usually do a pick of the week for value and most interest, but I'm going to have to do it on the fly at the end of this, although it's usually not that hard because it's just information. Anyways, Earth Abundance, the research I do in these videos, that takes a lot. Like, these are generally like my entire like Sunday or Saturday night or whatever, sometimes Friday. These usually take a lot of time and energy to put together these videos because I have to go through the whole campaign, look at the pledge levels, look at previous things, but just picking what I think is my personal favorite or what holds its value the most by the end of it, that's usually pretty quick. Anyways, 949 backers, 9 days to go, $675,000 raised on the Earth Abundance expansion, the first expansion to a game that has been definitely one of the things that have blown people out of the water in 2023. Love it or hate it, and I don't think there's a lot of people who hate it, it has definitely been one of the most popular games to hit the market in recent years. Earth is just killing it in sheer like availability. Like, there's a lot of great games. Like, you have games like Oathsworn that really land, people love them, but they're working with a more limited audience. Earth is both well rated and affordable, which means it's gotten into a lot of people's hands. This is a smash hit of 2023. But over here we have the Earth Abundance expansion. We have $39 or $29 US to get your hands on the Abundance expansion. What does the expansion do? You can check out my content of the game, or you can check out a bunch of other channels as well. But the content, the expansion basically adds a few things. It adds a 6th player to the game, so if you want to play the game with 6 players instead of 5, you have that. It adds a new mechanic of seed tokens. That's these little, no, not these tokens. They're little, you can't see them here. You can't see them in this picture, because that's more about the game itself. But it adds these little seed tokens, which look like this, but in a different color. And seed tokens give you the ability to do a few things, but the thing that's most notable is the ability to die for specific card types to complete your tableau. So you can say, I want a card that costs this, or has this element on it, and then go ahead and die for that. You can also trade in a variety of other things, so there's a reason to go ahead and engage with that. It also adds adds, what else does it add? It adds the seed expansion, it adds the single player mechanic, it adds more cards, so more card variety, and a new card type as well. So there's a lot of cards that will pay attention to your neighbors in the game, so it matters a bit more as far as what your neighbors' tableaus look like, which could be better or worse depending on if you want that level. It gives you more of a sense of interaction, but also more of a sense of this game that you could just do like a bit of a heads down gaming. There's now just enough reason to do heads up gaming, but again, pros and cons in that sense as far as what it adds. But overall, it adds more stuff for a game. Nothing really bad, just a bunch of stuff that is like more players, more cards, and a small little mechanic that's not game changing or game breaking, but is certainly present. Additionally, over here, if you do get the Abundance expansion pack on crowdfunding, you're gonna get the free expansion upgrade. I will say, they specifically say that this might cost money. Sorry, should have gotten water this time, man. They say that this might cost money, I believe, doing the pledge manager, but for right now it's going to be free expansion upgrade over here. 30 wooden seed resources, 5 wooden leaf tokens. This is if you back the original game on crowdfunding. It also had that wooden aspect to the game, or whatnot, the wooden upgrades for the various bits on backing on crowdfunding. And then over here, there's also another thing in the expansion that's going to be a big deal, is going to be the deluxeification. So down here, if we scroll all the way down, we have these new deluxify tokens, not these ones over here, but over here, deluxe upgrades, see our add-on section. So if you go to the add-ons, you can see a bunch of deluxe upgrades for Earth. Where are they? $140 for everything new if you want all that stuff. That's a pledge level, but let's just go ahead to the add-ons. Here we go. Here's your deluxe upgrade pack for $75, although part of some larger pledges as well, giving you 600 various upgrades. 28 seed resources, more than 100 soil coins, and it's from post-consumer plastics. I don't know the material it's going to feel like. I don't know what this. I don't know what the material is going to feel like. I'm just going to say that. I don't know if it feels more wood adjacent or plastic adjacent. It's from post-consumer plastic, so I don't know. We have 240 sprouts. We have 160 growth pieces and 3 unique shapes, and we have 84 color canopies. So this is basically further deluxifying your copy of Earth by giving it, well, cooler stuff in general. As far as the pledge levels over here, we have $29 for the expansion. We have $80 for the Earth and Abundance, and keep in mind that gives the Kickstarter gift as well. We have $80 for the Earth and Abundance, which gives you both the Earth Abundance, the various Kickstarter upgrades, including the base game Kickstarter upgrades from the first campaign. And then we have the retail pledge over here for $80 for just the retail game in general, which again, in general, I recommend avoiding those. Just get it on retail if you want that. And then we have everything new for $146 for all the new stuff, and then everything for $248 for all the stuff. And keep in mind, both those two last pledges include the various upgrades on the game. As far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? Earth was a popular game, which means in general, if you're looking at the retail options, retail is still the best way to get your hands in it. But if you're looking at the deluxe options for Earth did fairly well on the secondhand market. This is a popular game. People wanted the extra bits, or the nicer bits, and people paid for it on the secondhand market. Just because, again, it was a popular enough game. It did very, very well. That's going to continue to be true for the expansion. So I say if you are getting any of the deluxe stuff, whether it's deluxe upgrades or even just the Kickstarter versions of the game, I do think it is more likely to hold its value just based on how the first edition of the game went. This is a game that's done well. It's a game that's continued to trend well. I don't think the expansion does anything majorly new or massively different, but it's still a nice quality of life upgrade for the game, and it gives you more exclusive stuff that is crowdfunding exclusive. So there is that. I will also say, I should say as well, they have one more add-on down here somewhere where they were very they seemed obviously hesitant about this, which I get. I appreciate them being hesitant on it. But basically, if we could find this upgrade over here, they had an add-on that was a $1 add-on. And it's not the $1 pledge. I'm not upset about it at all. I've been very against the $1 pledge situation. Not the $1 pledge, the $1 newsletter thing. But they have this over here. Where is it? They had it somewhere. Where is it? Where is this? 1 second. Is it gone? No, here we go. Here we go. We have the 12-card weather module. The 12-card weather module, which is $8 for the module, or you can get it for $1 by joining the newsletter. So basically, without getting too much into it, there's a whole thing that's been going on recently that I've seen less recently, which is nice, which is this whole $1 newsletter pre-campaign sign-up thing. Basically, before the campaign ever launches, you give the creator $1, and then you get access to some sort of bonus, but you're doing so before the game ever launches. I'm not going to heavily go down it. I am against that practice for a variety of reasons. I've done 2 full videos in it. I think it is. I understand why it's beneficial for publishers. I do think it's anti-consumer to an extent, and I'm against it personally. Yeah, either way, I'm against it personally. We won't heavily go into that right now, because again, I've done 2 full videos. I just don't want to sidetrack. This is different because this is $1, and it's not different because I like inside-out games or anything like that. It's different because this is something that's being given during the crowdfunding campaign. They're giving you the access to the ability to get your hands on this weather module for $1. You're basically, instead of giving you something that is trying to get you to emotionally invest into the game before the campaign ever starts, trying to get you to pay money a second time before the campaign ever starts. You're paying money for something you can't even see everything on. This is basically offering you, hey, you can buy this for $8, or you can sign up to a newsletter and buy it for $1. That is something that's much more typical in crowdfunding in general, in e-commerce in general. The amount of times you'll go to a site and you'll pop on a site and it'll be like, hey, you get 10% off your first order if you sign up for a newsletter and give us your email. That's a very common, very regular thing. My reasons for being against the dollar pledge are specific to the nature of the fact that it's a pre-campaign situation where before the campaign ever goes up and before you have an ability to sign anything, you're being asked to pay money. This is very, very clear across the board. I can understand why people might mentally associate them. Personally speaking, I have no problem with it. I should also note for the record, and obviously so, my own personal opinions reflect my own personal opinions. It does not mean I'm right or wrong, but it does reflect how I feel, and I'm always fine explaining why I feel that way. It doesn't mean you have to agree with me ever. It means you could be for the dollar pledge. It means you could be against the dollar newsletter weather module over here. I'm just giving my own personal reasons why I feel it's different, why I'm not offended or bothered by it at all. Anyway, that's as far as Earth. As far as should you back it, will hold its value. We did all that stuff, which means it's time to move on to Core of Discovery, which I had to remember the entire time not to say Corpse of Discovery because I keep wanting to say that. 1,500 backers on the campaign, $168,000 raised, 16 days to go. Coming to you from Jay Cormier from Off the Page Games, we have Core of Discovery, which is basically a hidden, well, it's actually not just Jay Cormier, I should say, there's a variety of creators involved in this one, but we have over here, it's Senfu and Glim. Senfu and Glim, Jay Cormier, who often work together on a variety of games, Mind Management, Junk Art, Belfort, all that stuff. But Core Discovery is a deduction scenario-based game. It's a cooperative deduction scenario-based game. What you're going to do is you're going to have a scenario you engage in, and the scenarios in the base game, the scenarios in the various expansions, and those are going to set up the board for you, and then you're going to cover up the board. And there's a whole way to do it so you don't actually see this stuff, but effectively there's now a puzzle to solve. And then you have a specific objective based on the scenario you're playing. So whatever that scenario might be, find the forts, hunt down this creature, find your various plants, whatever it is. You're going to be having to deal with a wildlands and whatnot, and also surviving day by day. You have to gather the right resources. The good news is as you explore through the map, you have information because there's a set of rules around each scenario. In this scenario, you know, wood is only going to be once per row and column. In this scenario, you're going to have food that's next to skulls. You're going to have different rules in play that affect your knowledge of the map, so that even though you're exploring, if you know you need something, you can start using that logical deductive aspect to figure it all out for you. So it gives you that puzzly feeling, that little minesweeper feeling. It's an enjoyable little a deductive puzzle as far as what to do while you try to go through the game and accomplish the actual goals. So it's survival, it's scenario based, there's lots of fun little things going on over there. You can check out my review and you can check out a ton of gameplay content, a variety of the scenarios, all of them, I believe all of them using specific scenarios that were for content creators to cover, so you're not getting any spoilers on your game, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, that's as far as what we got for the general game. There's going to be the What's in the Box, the retail edition, for $39, for you get the retail edition of the game, giving you the 2 folders, the 20 maps over here, some with more that can be downloaded, the map hider, the map board, all these various things, the scenarios, the reference cards, the character cards, you have 6 character cards, 10 gear cards, all these various upgrades and all the stuff being added. And for Kickstarter exclusive, as a thank you for backing, everyone gets 10 extra maps printed and included with their game. These can be downloaded by other people, but you'll get them printed out so you can go ahead and, well, have them for yourself. And the deluxe edition of the game is going to give you the same content, but you have a wood board, you have wooden path tokens, wooden resources, so you're paying $59, an additional $20 for the game. They're getting all these various things, a deeper box tray, that's going to be all the stuff you're getting for the deluxe expansion for the game. And then for the ultimate edition, that's going to give you the deluxe stuff, but also with the expansions as well. So it includes the deluxe edition, plus all 4 expansions, Insecta, Maldonado, Fog, and Vamator over here. Vamator is an interesting one. I think that's the one I showcased in my video, but either way. We have 50 additional wooden pieces over here, so more stuff upgraded, and that's basically what we got there. And then the triple deluxe over there, this is no longer about Core Discovery. This is about getting your hands on Hero County and Mind Management as well. So a whole lot of games if you want to get basically everything from Mind Management and all the deluxe versions of everything. That's what you can go ahead and spend there. It's a bit of a jump from the $119. That's because you're getting 3 deluxeified games over there, of which, by the way, Mind Management, one of my favorite games of all time, Core of Discovery, incredibly satisfying. Hero County, I know, has been received very well. I've enjoyed it. It's not been as... For me, I've enjoyed it, but it's not landed as heavily, as well as his other games, but I think it's still very solid. It's an asymmetric game of asymmetric puzzling experience that grows with you as the players. Anyways, that's as far as what we got for the game over here. As far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? Hard to say 100%, but I'd say based on looking at, because if you look at Mind Management has done incredibly well in the second market. I think it's landed very well, and generally, especially when it's been between print runs or availability, it has done, the deluxe edition of the game has sold for more than people paid for it. Oh my gosh, what's the other one? I'm blanking. For Hero County, on the other hand, that one has sold for close to what people have paid for it. If you look at the original campaign, if you look at the secondary market, it has taken a small hit on value, basically losing shipping and all that, but for the most part, it is going for roughly what people paid for it. And Core of Discovery, for me personally, I don't know. See, the tricky part is I don't know what's going to be more liked overall. For me, Mind Management is easily my favorite. Core of Discovery is easily my second favorite, then Hero County, but I have to reflect not just my own opinion, but also in general people's opinion. So I don't know exactly where Core of Discovery will land. I think it is a very good game. I think people will appreciate it. I think it's likely one that will hold most of its value, but how much of that does depend. But just looking at his previous games and catalog, the production quality of everything he's done, I think will hold most of its value, possibly not all of it. Moving on, we have Firesiege. This is going to be a long video. Firesiege over here. 476 backers. Where are we? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 campaigns to go. It's a lot. 477 backers, $31,000 raised, 16 days to go. Firesiege is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players, while the 1-player mode is very different because the principle of this game, this is basically a tower defense game for the most part. You have your own internal citadel, you have various enemies heading your way, you have various Centaurians and other units you're going to be going to cut. I don't know why I said Centaurians. You have various heroes or whatnot, probably because they look like Centaurs. But you have various heroes and you have various legionnaires or whatnot, troops that you can go ahead and rally in your favor to try to take down the hive, and you're trying to get points worth of goals, 6 points worth of goals, and there are various goals in play, such as taking down the various towers and other scenario-based goals. You're just trying to figure out the best way to take as many things down, earn your 6 points, and win the game. The puzzle part of the game, because other than that standard cooperative game, you do your things, the game does bad things. It seems like a basic, straightforward cooperative experience. Not necessarily a bad thing, but just, where does it stand out? What makes this game different? And the thing that makes the game different is that every single round you have a handful of cards, and your cards, all the cards, tell you good things on one side and bad things on the other side, for the most part. There's some small exceptions there, but good things on one thing, bad things on the other side. But you can only see one side. Whatever the cards are in your hands, you'll either see the good side or the bad side. So you might know, hey, these are 3 bad things that will happen. Can we afford to have those bad things happen? Because they're different bad things. So you might know that this is going to advance here, and these enemies are going to be added to the board. So you have to kind of look at your own cards and say, can I afford to do these bad things? And then from there, you ask your allies, your teammates basically, are the good things on this card good? They can't tell you exactly what they are, but are these things helpful? So there's a degree of kind of silent communication. You can only see one side of the card, either the good or the bad. Your teammates can only see one side of the card. Whatever you can't see is what they can see, because it's variable, it's random what you get. So they might see the good, they might see the bad, you see the opposite, and you're trying to communicate without actually saying specifics, but you're like, you can just say things like, hey, the bad things we can handle, or you might see the good things. You might be like, I really want this thing upgraded, and they're like, no, do not play that card. That card is not good for us right now. That's the extent of the communication in the game, but it does add an interesting puzzle where you kind of only know half the story and have to kind of communicate the importance of the half you see without being able to heavily communicate on the actual details of what it is you see. So a fascinating little mechanic. I've enjoyed the game. I think the rest of the game is fairly standard cooperative. Oh, I should note, Board Game Co. did do paid content. Please take that into account. I will say that I enjoyed the game. And I think the rest of the game is for the most part fairly straightforward. I think that little interesting mechanic does make it stand out a bit more. So I've had fun playing with it, and I've had fun playing with the game. As far as the pledge levels over here, we have the base pledge for $53 for the base pledge. We have the Fire and Flames for $70, and that's basically what we got as far as the game. And this was on GameFound. I can't remember if it funded and they canceled, or if they just canceled. I think it funded and then they canceled. But either way, as far as should you back or should you not, will hold its value. The game both on GameFound and over here, they haven't managed to pick up that full audience. 477 backers is great, but it still doesn't hit the numbers. 16 days to go. It may cross what it did on GameFound, I'm not sure. But over here, it's not hitting that critical mass of interest, which means I think this is one that's going to fall in the category of one that is less likely to hold its value. I think there's going to be less demand for the game. I think it has an interesting element, but is that interesting element enough to make people spend, $70 on the game if they want to get all the various stuff for the game? That's going to be the question more, and so far from what we can see, it looks like it doesn't have that much appeal. So I think it's one that's going to be a little harder to get your hands on in case you're interested in that reason, or support the creators or all that, but I think it is one that is less likely to hold its value compared. I think it's one that's less likely to hold its value. Moving on, we have Table Golf Association Meeple Beach Edition. 414 backers, 17 days to go. This is more table golf. Table Golf Association is a game that came out a few years ago. They've had a few crowdfunding campaigns, and the basic pitch is you have a little kind of metal marble and a little thing that you're trying to play golf with. You're trying to play golf with whatever the rules are of the specific scenario, or changes or differences or all that. So again, they've had a few versions. They have a family edition, they have a deluxified all wood edition. That's the core concept, and now they're just releasing more content, more maps, more tiles, more stuff like that for the game. We have the Frozen Tundra Family Edition for $25 over here. We have the Stadium Course expansion for $30. We have the Frozen Tundra Pro Edition, which is going to give you those wooden tiles over there, for $35. And then we have the Family Edition, which is basically just straight up Family Edition, $50. And then we have the Pro Edition for 28 wooden tiles for $75. And then the Family Edition Big Box for $100 and $145. All these things, depending on how much content you want to get, you can spend up to $300 for a grand slam of table golf. As far as should you back or should you not, will hold its value. If you're looking for the retail edition of the game currently is cheaper online. If you take a look at crowdfunding versus retail. If you're looking at pure retail, I think it's cheaper online. If you're looking for the deluxeified wood bits, then that's what you want to get on crowdfunding, but that's where it doesn't hold its value, at least not so far. If you look at the secondhand market on Board Game Geek, this is one that is selling for less than what people paid for it. So if you want to get the game, support the creators, make sure you get your hands in it, all those are good reasons to go ahead and back it. But if you're looking from a value perspective, both the retail and the deluxe version I think are not as great to back. Moving on, we have the Sixth Realm, a heavy Euro game. 1,800 backers, $183,000 raised, 17 days to go. The Sixth Realm, coming to you from Final Frontier Games, is another game featuring the art of the mid-show and featuring a ton of interweaving deluxeified Euro elements that I'm not even going to try to tell you what they are, because they're games. They produce these like more Euro intricate games, and trying to get a sense of how they play so I can cover it on crowdfunding if I haven't tabled it myself is a lot of work. So I'm not going to try to do that. I'll say there are a lot of fantastic creators who are covering this game, and general Final Frontier Games, they do put out games that have a lot of interweaving elements that can make those games compelling. Over here, as far as the why back now aspect, we haven't even gotten to the pledge levels. As far as the why back now, they do say that at the moment, their English edition games do not have distribution, so there will not be conventional retail releases. I will say they also then say savings up to 25%. So if they don't have a retail release, I'm not entirely sure what the savings of up to 25% is on. I kind of think you have to pick a lane. Like, you can either say, hey, it's discounted off MSRP, or you could say we won't have retail availability. If you say both of them, you're basically just saying, hey, we're discounting our made-up numbers that will never really ever be eligible. And before anyone comments, I will say they do note that they can sell those games at conventions, so maybe it'll be discounted from the convention price, but honestly, I'll wait until I see the convention price, because I don't know if it will be discounted. I think we might be talking about purely imaginary numbers here. And past that, there are Kickstarter exclusives for the game, help make the game a reality, help make the game better, all the usual things for the games. And then, as far as contents, they have the standard edition over here. So they have the standard edition of the game. They have the, where are we? We have the 6 ROM standard edition for $89. We have the deluxe edition for $109, and the deluxe edition plus expansion for $129 for the game. And that's going to give you a ton of content and things and upgrades. You can see over here, like, just the stuff there are, and we'll get to the upgrades shortly, because you'll see the Kickstarter exclusive gives you all these things, which granted, they do look very fine, like the seal tokens, the ink tokens, the lock tokens, the challenge tokens. These all look great. I don't know what the physical piece will be like, but I will say the renders over here, they make me want those deluxeifications, that's for sure. And then we have as the expansion as well, which again, I can't really get into what the game does itself, so I'm not going to heavily get into the expansion either. I will say Final Frontier games in general, then this seems to be taking place in the world of Merchant's Cove, which I think Biohazard Grove does too, but either way, Final Frontier games, as far as the games in general, Final Frontier is an interesting publisher. They put out a lot of games that look really good, and a lot of games that don't necessarily land as well after. They've had some ones that have stood out more. Coloma has stood out and been generally well received. Merchant's Cove has had mixed feedback, but it's still a lot of people who really enjoy that one. I will say, for me personally, I'm excited to see what happens when Biohazard Grove lands. I want to see what the general reception of Biohazard Grove is. For me personally, I really enjoy Biohazard Grove, and it's likely my favorite game from them. I didn't have a chance to ever cover it, so you never saw coverage from me, but I had a chance to play it at a convention, and I really liked it, although granted, only one play. I need more plays of it. But in general, I will say Final Frontier games, while they had a few games that have stood out, I think in general their games have very often arrived, they've been on crowdfunding, they have their their boom, and then they kind of land and don't always get talked about as much after. So they have, for me at least personally, they kind of moved more into, like, you know, I like trying them before buying them kind of situation, just because it's, again, it's not a cheap amount of money. $89 for the base version of the game, and if you're interested in this game, you're more likely to be one of the people spending $120 on everything. It's still a lot if you don't find their games land with you. If you do find their games land with you, it's a different story, by all means. But as far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? I say in general, like I said already, kind of covered this a little bit with the way their games are. For the most part, their games have not held their value in the secondhand market. They have their interest. The highest degree of interest tends to happen when it's on crowdfunding, and then when they land, there are some people who like them, some people who don't, but they don't do as good a job holding their value in the secondhand market. There may be exceptions. Merchant's Cove has certainly gone through periods where it's sold for more than people paid for it. Coloma as well has certainly had the deluxe edition of Coloma is one that at various times has been hard to get your hands in it, has sold for more. But again, I think in general, their games are more of a risk. Sixth Realm might be amazing. I'm definitely looking forward to trying this one when I have an opportunity. I'm not saying it's bad in any way, I'm just saying as a publisher, they've had, I think, more games that have missed for me than have hit for me, and I think in general, based on market reception, that's generally true. So they put out a lot of good games, but a lot of good games at a very high price point, and so usually it's only the great games that get talked about and maintained. So that's going to be Sixth Realm over here. I'm not willing to say it won't, it's interesting. I'm not willing to say it will or won't hold its value. I would say their games in general fall into more of the risk category. It could go either way, and that means you can pick it up now on the if there's a reprint campaign. They don't often do reprint campaigns, so that's a little harder. They did one for Coloma, but it's usually the exception for them. So it's usually secondhand market or conventions or crowdfunding. So that is a bit of a toss-up on this one. You know, I would say go by your own experience with their games if you have any, and if not, roll the dice. Moving on to Hispania, the Roman Conquest from Draco Ideas over here. Hispania is going to be a game that is, well, kind of not really a reprint. It's a kind of a spiritual successor to Archie, or whatever it is. Although I will say, my favorite part over here is the design notes on this game is, this is not Tetrarchia. That's the design notes. This is basically saying it's not that game. It is built on that game to a degree, but it's not that game, although they do have that game on this crowdfunding campaign if you're interested in it, but it does have some degree of core similarities, while also things that make it different, and you can get your hands on both those games at a fairly reasonable price point if you're interested in it. We have 643 backers, $24,000 raised, 18 days left to go, and this is a cooperative experience where you're trying to basically get control and build in various capitals and subdue all the people of the peninsula as you take your actions every round. You can have money, I believe. You can have money that's going to drive your actions in the game. You can cross variety of rounds of play. I can't remember how many rounds. I think like 4 rounds, maybe 5 rounds. I don't remember. But across a variable number of rounds of play, you're going to be trying to basically quell the various invaders and uprising and take control of the region in Hispania over here. As far as, and it's cooperative, which doesn't look like a typical cooperative game, but it is a cooperative game, which also means it's solo friendly, inherently, I think. Well, not inherently, but generally. It's a cooperative game for 1 to 3 players, which is very specific. There are a few cooperative games that aren't solo friendly, but for the most part, they usually are. Codenames Duet, very hard to play solo. The Mind, very hard to play solo. So there are some cooperative games that are definitely not solo friendly, but usually they are. Anyways, Hispania for €24 for the game over here. Very affordable price point for the game. We have Tetrarchia over here for €24 for the expansion, and we have all-in €59. That's both base games, plus the neoprene playmat and storage boxes for the game. Although storage is misspelled. That's misspelled. Not a big deal. Not a big deal, but still bothers me a little. Anyways, that's as far as the game itself. We have some additional stretch goals and things, metal coins, you know, the meeple over here, the River of Oblivion, like various was a scenario over here for the game. All those various things, various optional buys as well if you want more metal coins or a neoprene dice mat or some other things separate from the base game or a wooden organizer. That's basically what we got for the game. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? Oh, and let's go to shipping. Shipping's a factor too, because shipping's going to run you €10 or so for or $11 for the game, $11 for 2 games, and $15 for the all-in, probably because of that playmat over there. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? I'm skeptical it will hold its value. The game is very reasonably priced, especially nowadays compared to what we typically see on crowdfunding, but even so, I just don't know if the demand is there for it. So I am still skeptical it will hold its value, although I think it is in that price range. If there's something you're interested in it, I don't think it's necessarily, I think if you're interested in the game, it might make sense to get it, but I don't think it'll hold its value on the secondhand market. I just don't think the level of demand is there. Tetrarchia is like a 2015 title. It's rated decently well. I think it's like a 7.2. Might have been a 7.4, although that is a big difference when it comes to BGG. But yeah, that's going to be Hispania and Tetrarchia. Moving on to Munchkin. Munchkin Big Box over here. $740,000 raised, 5,144 backers, 18 days left to go. Munchkin Big Box is the ultimate Munchkin Big Box, except it's not in 2 ways. First, as they say, this is the biggest edition ever for the mega hit card game of fantasy adventure. They're forgetting the Simon version, because I'm pretty sure that was bigger. But then also, what's interesting to me is this is a big box edition that doesn't include all the content, and is actually very weird about the content that it does include. This is Munchkin. It's a very popular game from Steve Jackson Games. It's a game where you basically, a little bit more mass market in its general appeal, but you're basically breaking down the dungeon. You're going to try to get players to ally with you, to help you, and to go through the 10 levels of a dungeon, slowly powering up yourself, getting stronger as you go through various cards, and hopefully have more good things happen to you, but other players are trying to get in your way and or help you, depending. You're going to kick down the door, fight the monster, grab the treasure, and reach level 10 and win in the game. A pretty straightforward game of playing cards and messing with others in the game as you try to be the person winning the game. It's going to be $125 for the game, or $125 for retailers for 2 copies of the game, which I think is a small mistake to show this here. Like, I mean, in general, it's not uncommon for a game to be half price to retailers, but when you put that like directly in front of people, it's like, it just doesn't make people feel good necessarily. Usually you want to do something like a retailer pledge, or at least even do something like, hey, you spend $500 and you get 10 copies of the game, whatever it is. Whatever it is, I don't think it's the best way to present it here, but also the campaign's doing really well, so I can't exactly say it's doing that. I can't say it's like having a big impact. As far as the game over here, the game comes with Munchkin, Expansion 2, which makes sense, Munchkin 2, Munchkin 3, we skip 4 and 5, we go straight to 6, then we have side quests 1 and 2 and bosses. So it's an interesting combination of expansions, although again, Munchkin has a ton of content, and the game comes with 650 cards from various Munchkin stuff, but the box is able to store 2,000 cards. This is an ultimate Munchkin Big Box, where you then pay for the game and also choose other expansions that you want to go in. But again, I think the expansion itself is just an interesting choice, although, to be frank, I don't know enough about the Munchkin series to know whether, you know, 3 and 4 were just bad, 4 and 5 were just bad expansions. I just don't know. Although you can still buy them, so there is that. Past that, we have over here, we have various things that are back exclusive for the pins. We have the promo card reprints. We have loaded dice. So a bunch of things that are being added, both in terms of stretch goals or options. Some of them are going to be added to the big box. Some of them are going to be exclusive to the back kit, all that. And then we have ways to buy extra stuff, as well as get extra even voting on extra stretch goals. So we have more cards over here for the loaded deck. We have the various expansions you can get for $20 each for 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have Munchkin Cthulhu, Munchkin Zombie, Star Munchkin, Other Munchkin, Munchkin Miniseries, Dice and Accessories. Munchkin is one of those games that's massively popular. Like, we don't always realize how popular these games are, because a lot of us are, well, myself included, are gamer snobs. We're like, Munchkin. But not realizing that Munchkin has probably sold more than most of your favorite games combined. It's a very, very popular game. It's done very well for Steve Jackson. Just because it isn't for you, or for me, doesn't mean it isn't doing well. And of course, the shipping prices as well. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? I can't be certain on this one, because again, it does have that mass market appeal, which means it's not the hardest thing to find that Munchkin fan who really wants it all. But I'd say generally, if you follow the trend of most Munchkin stuff, it is less likely to hold its value overall. There are some things that are back kit exclusive. Those are the main things you want to pay attention to, because the rest will be available at retail. So the question is, are those things good enough to hold its value on the price point people are paying for this? And I'm skeptical that it will. That said, I will admit that I'm not as familiar with because again, Munchkin falls into a weird space with not just, your board game geek gamers who are interested in it. It's also people who've never registered a board game geek account in their lives, and they're buying it from wherever they are. So a little harder to say on this one. My instincts are no, it won't hold its value, but I will acknowledge that sometimes things that have a mass market presence have surprised me in the past when I've called them wrong. Moving on, we have only 2 campaigns, dear lord. Okay, 2 campaigns. We're actually not doing that bad on time. It's a normal video length, so it is what it is. We have Renters and Parking Expansion, Print and Play. Well, normal for my 2-back or not back series. Renters plus Parking Expansion, Print and Play from Titan Board Games. 20 days left to go, 144 backers, €1,300 euro raise. This is a Print and Play expansion. It's going to be basically Friends themed, obviously, with that little font over there. But you're basically going to be rolling dice. You have to manage your apartment building. You're trying to gather tenants, fix various things, and just try to efficiently manage your print and play roll and write situation. Not going to heavily go into it. These are print and play roll and writes. I usually don't cover these that much in depth. There's also all games of Titan Board Games, so you can all these various games. And again, keep in mind, these are print and plays. Despite the look of the box, these are not box games you're buying. They're very reasonably priced, but they are print and play games. €12 for all the games. We have €3 for the Renters Basic. We have Renters Basic for €4, for €5, for Parking Expansion for €6. The last 3 games, Titan Board Games. So basically a bunch of print and play games from Titan Board Games. That's what it is. Fairly straightforward print and play roll and write experiences. But as usual with these things, should you back it, should you not? Will it hold its value? These don't hold their value. They're print and plays in general. As far as should you back it, my general rule is if you find yourself backing print and plays and playing them, then by all means back them, because they're a great price point for a high level of gameplay. But if you find yourself buying these things and not playing them, well, then you're just paying for digital files that never see the light of day and can't even hold their value in any way. So I just go by your own personal experience as to whether it makes sense to get these or not. And then lastly, we have Biohazard. 210 backers, $20,000 raised, 24 days to go, and disclaimer, Board Game Co. did do paid content around this game. Is there anything else we did paid content? I don't think so. I think I covered everything. I think this week it was only Firesiege a while ago. Yeah, Firesiege and Biohazard. I just like to... we do paid content here and there on certain games. I just like to try to say when I did so you have that information. But either way, we have Biohazard over here. We have 53... Well, let's talk about the game. Biohazard Outbreak. Biohazard is a 1 to 4 player game. There's a solo mode, but the game is not cooperative despite the theme of raging pandemic. In this game, you have your own personal private goals of what you want to protect. There's also public goals of what you want to protect. And so basically, there's a disease raging around the board, and your goal is not necessarily to protect everyone and exterminate the disease, although you could cure the disease for extra points. Rather, your goal is to make sure certain areas are not infected and are protected. So you're trying to be mindful of not whether the disease spreads, but where the disease spreads. That's what you're trying to be mindful of in this game. And so to that end, it's a cooperative, it's a competitive experience where you care more about your own personal goals. And again, there's public goals you can try to go for together as you build walls, direct the disease, and try to ensure that everything is locked down in the game, and or other places in the game that you don't care about instead have various regions of, just disease spreading into them. The game, as far as the pledge level, is going to be $53 for the standard edition, it's going to be $78 for the premium edition, and then $106 for the deluxe edition. And I will say, with that backer count on the game currently, that has me a little concerned with the 210 backers and the variety of different editions being made, because that's a production cost in there that you just to factor in. We have over here clearly laid out what's the standard, premium, and deluxe edition. So every game gets a box, which is nice. Every game gets a board, which is nice. The standard edition gets meeples, the premium and deluxe get miniatures. The standard gets little flat punch boards, and the premium and deluxe get 50 biohazards. Standard gets punch out, and premium and deluxe get wooden tokens over there, and you can go through that. Over here we see the first edition from the deluxe to the premium, which is you get full-on walls as opposed to wooden tokens or punch out tokens, and you can see over here cards and more cards, all those things in both. We have the deluxe edition giving you this dice tower over here. We have the faction box in the deluxe edition as well. So the deluxe has a dice tower, an expansion, and those upgraded walls are the differences over there. So all clearly laid out. As far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? I'm skeptical it will. I think that there's not a ton of people backing this game. 210 backers. By the time the campaign ends, maybe you cross that 400 backer line, more likely 300, which means the demand for this is not as present, and the price point of coming in starting at $53 before we get to shipping. Shipping is going to run you, what is it? It's going to run you around €20 for the game, so that's going to be a big price point jump as well. So you're looking at basically a $80 minimum for this game to get your hands in it, and that's only going to, well, it depends where you are. I'm saying US-centric over there. It could be a little less if you're in Europe because of the shipping prices over there, but it's basically not a cheap game to get your hands on, and I just think that's reflected in the current back count and will be reflected in the aftermarket, you know, is it worth it or not when people try to hunt it down or not. So that's basically that. Unfortunately, as far as should you back it, I say if you're trying to support the publisher or if you want to get your hands on the game, it will likely have a low availability, but otherwise, and they do talk about they have plans for a retail release, but I don't know if that will happen or not, and even if it does, they talk about how the differences of the games versus crowdfunding versus retail. So I'd say if you want to support the creator, you want to guarantee your hands in it, by all means. If you're looking at whether it'll hold its value or not, I do not think it will. Which brings us to the, what are we up to now? We're up to the picks of the week, the games that are most likely to hold its value, and my personal pick of the week, and those are actually pretty easy to pick from the games we have, because we're not counting God of War. I covered that last week. I don't cover updates in my picks of the week. Rather, for the game that I think is most likely to hold its value, I'm going to give it to Earth Abundance over here. This one in general, if you're backing the deluxe, if you're backing anything that's going to be Kickstarter exclusive or crowdfunding exclusive, I think this is one, at least based on the first game, it is the most likely to hold its value. It's a popular game. Sure, there's 9,000 people backing the campaign now, but there's always a ton of people who don't know these campaigns exist and when they're happening. As much as, you know, you or I might be aware of the world of crowdfunding, there are so many who aren't as immersed in that world, don't know what's happening at any given point, don't follow various channels, and are still fans of the game. I think that the deluxe con for this game will hold its value overall for Earth Abundance. And as far as my personal interest pick of the week, the game that I'm most interested in personally, we're going to go with Core of Discovery. I really enjoyed this game. Had a lot of fun with this one. I'm looking forward to diving into it more. I thought the scenario was very variable. I thought the gameplay was very satisfying. The cooperative deduction was very rewarding. So overall, just a fun overall time. Really like this one, and I'm looking forward to the final game. This is my personal interest pick of the week. And lastly, as far as games coming up next week, we have a few things. We have the Canvas Big Box with 8,500 followers for the big box of Canvas and ability to store everything. And I might actually back this. I back far less games than I used to, but I think I probably will end up backing this than I probably shouldn't, but I probably will. There's that conversation. And then also we have Euthia. Euthia Cold Cruel Frost coming from Steamforged Games. I almost said Stone Matter Games. From Steamforged Games. 8,000 followers on the campaign. This is Euthia Cruel Frost. I believe it's the complete trilogy, the new and final chapter for Euthia Cruel Frost. This a little bit of a, you know, redemption arc on Euthia from the original publisher, from launching, from failing, and then coming back. And here we are now with Euthia Cruel Frost. From Steamforged Games. And that's what we have. That is everything. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you've appreciated this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one. A man walks into a bar, sits down for a drink. Another patron sidles up to him and he's like, you know what? The drink I'm having is something insane. Like, this stuff is insane. This drink, like, I know you won't believe me, but when you drink this, you can fly. And the guy's like, no, it's not. You're drunk. Go home. The guy's like, no. Seriously, this drink, I'm telling you, drink it and you can fly. Like, trust me. Like, I know you don't believe me, but just take a shot, drink it, you'll see what happens. And the guy's like, you're drunk. Go home. And the guy will not let him alone. He will not leave him alone. He continues to give him a hard time. He's like, fine, you don't believe me? Here, watch me. He takes his drink, takes a big giant chug of it, slams it down the counter, walks over to the window, pops the window open, jumps out, and flies around the building 3 times. Like the 3rd floor bar or whatever it is, 4th floor, it's a 17th floor, it's a, you know, I don't know, top of a tower, who knows. Jumps in the building, flies around 3 times, circles back in, and sits back down. He's like, I told you this drink makes you fly. The guy is flabbergasted. Absolutely flabbergasted. He thought the guy's drunk. What are you talking about? He turns to the bartender, he's like, I'll have what he's having. And he grabs a drink, takes the drink, he puts it down on the counter, walks over the window, jumps out, and promptly falls to his death. It's at that point that the bartender turns to the first guy and says, you gotta stop drinking, Superman.